All right, I'm here with my friend Pat Metzger, and Pat is a transformational coach, and she has a process called heart-centered leadership. And so I'm going to turn it over to Pat and let her explain exactly what she means by that. It sounds interesting.
Thank you. Heart-centered leadership is a little different approach to, in business, the leadership model. So while most leadership models talk about productivity and profit and different strategic ways of plans and everything, the heart-centered approach is from coming from your heart. So whenever you make a decision, you don't think bottom line, you think what is best for yourself and what is best for the employee you're working with. The whole idea is to help individuals come up to their full potential. So most people will look at an environment and say, especially in leadership roles, oh, he's not very good at this. And that's all you notice. So that's all you focus on, as opposed to focusing on everything that that person does right and then try and bring their self-esteem and their confidence up that way. If you do that, they will perform more for you, and it's proven fact, and then you hit your bottom line anyway. So it's a little different approach of trying to manage people. You still need traditional management for your line employees and rewards, but it has been shown that people that are not on like assembly lines or doing a task that is just rote, the rewards are not the same. The money and the initiatives that they're giving out last only a little bit. What they want is self-worth and honesty.
Right. That
So
sounds great. Yeah, because you really need to be focused on strengths, and especially with the heart-centered aspect, because that really is smarter than the brain in a lot of ways. That's what we're learning about more and more.
yes, that's true.
So that sounds like a great system. And you used to, I think you used to do corporate presentations. Is that true?
I did myself. I was a director in corporate America one time,
Uh-huh.
and I had learned a lot of everything that I know. I was pretty much self-taught. My company allowed me to grow. They didn't send me anywhere, and I didn't have individual coaches. But it is becoming more aware now, especially in the bigger companies, and it's starting to filter down to the startups and the smaller companies, that your employees that you count on the most, your leadership employees, they need individual coaching to help them better themselves, which then helps them become better leaders, which then makes your business prosper. So I learned a lot. I had come from an empowerment management style. I did not like hierarchy. My team, out of all the departments in my company, we had the highest productivity and the least amount of turnover with doing the empowered management style.
Wow.
So what I'm doing is taking that and tweaking it for the heart centered, because it pretty much is the same in that you're giving the power to your employees, not yourself. It's just that you're trying to train them to come from their heart also.
That sounds good. And so have you thought about going back and doing some of those conferences or whatever you would call it, like trainings for corporate?
Yes, I'm currently working on a package to go in and do brown bag lunches to corporations for any of their management that is interested in learning about the style. It would only be like 40 minutes long, just to touch on it to see if they're interested. And then at the same time, I'm also working on an actual workshop that would probably be 4 hours, no longer than 8. I'm trying to keep it to 4 so that people have a half a day on the weekend still available.
Uh-huh.
If it goes to 8, I would probably do it more during the week, and they'd have to leave work or get something to get out. So I'm looking at different models and still gathering all the information as a training tool.
Sounds good. So tell me more about how you got interested in this coaching business that you are currently in.
Great question. I have come full circle. Was, as I said, in corporate America, and in my position, I was not happy at all with the company I was with. So I went from an empowered company, they sold us, and the new company that took over my department did not have the same philosophies at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked there for almost 3 years, trying to adapt, trying to change, but I just felt it was not me and I was not happy at all. So I quit without a job
Mm-hmm.
and then started pursuing some other things to try and get income, some consulting work, some just stress relief. And one of the webinars I watched while I was home was from Christy Whitman, and it was for what she's called the QSCA Coaching Academy. And so that is for the law of attraction life coaching. And I thought, oh, I can do that. I coached indirectly most of my life, whether I was just listening to friends or in work mentoring people. I've mentored people in other departments. In fact, I was the only leadership person that mentored anyone. So I've had some practice with that. The law of attraction just came about in that it's a different idea, even though a lot of us know about it. We've heard of The Secret, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll say everything happens for a reason, but it goes a little deeper than that. And so as I have been training in that, that is also what brought me around to the life-centered coaching. So I am still a work in progress, um, but enjoying myself tremendously, and I love every day of my life
Oh,
doing
that's
this.
great. That's a great thing to say.
Yes.
So has it always been, have you always been pretty happy with your life?
Um, no, I've had very, very challenging times. I've had health challenges that I've had to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Personal, had divorced about 25 years ago. And I was just there.
Yeah.
I functioned, I took responsibility, I took care of my kids. I did everything that I felt I needed to do, but I just was not happy or fulfilled. And then when I actually quit corporate America is when I allowed myself to even explore different things. And I, like anyone, am still like, what, are you crazy? Do it, just quitting?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other days that I realized there is no way I could go back to traditional corporate America. I like my freedom. I like teaching. And the more I'm learning about myself, the more I realize that I enjoy the teaching aspect, which I would have never said before. So
Yeah.
even in the past month, I've become more of aware of things about myself that I enjoy. And the more that I recognize that, the more my initiative and my excitement just builds. And so I believe the last time we talked, I didn't even talk about the health centered leadership. And that's all I've been doing for like a week and a half is studying on that and putting data together and everything. So once I
Yeah.
find something that clicks with me, which I'm hoping I can help other people do, find what actually resonates with them, um, they'll love their life too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds like you do have the firsthand experience with figuring out your passion, and it doesn't really matter at what age it happens, really.
right.
So you have a lot of personal experience to help guide people to finding their passion. And I know people in in our age group do feel like they want to change something, something isn't quite right in their life. And but we were all kind of, forced to sort of follow the herd in a lot of respects. And these days, it feels like there's a lot more options for everybody at any age. So you're an inspiration in that respect.
Oh, thank you. Exactly. I still have my moments that I'll be like, what am I doing? But for the most part, there are so many. My passion is really helping women uh,
Hmm.
and women with independence. I am a volunteer for a local county women's organization that helps domestic violence victims. So this little new path started because I was trying to find a way to help these women that if they were still in the relationship, how they could get out of the relationship and feel confident.
Yeah.
So I was working on a financial training. Um, and working with the government, I found that everything takes a very long time for anything to go through.
Hmm.
But we actually are up for a grant. Next Monday, I go for the site visit. So this is further than we've gotten before. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm hoping when I'm there, if I have the opportunity to speak, that they can see the passion of not just myself, but all of the volunteers and staff there to receive the money so that they can help these women even more.
That's awesome, really, because it's kind of like it makes me think about you want to don't gonna give them the fish, you want to teach them how to fish.
Exactly.
That seems to be the way to go. So that's great.
It is. It is. They have some things, and oh, gee, our government finally passed our budget 9 months late, which was a big impact on this organization because most of the funding comes from the federal and the state government.
Hmm.
So they did receive some of the federal money, but not until December because the state was holding on to it. But now the state can release the state money. And they were just very fortunate that they actually had people that are so in tune with their cause and their passion that they actually lent them money to keep open. Many centers had to close across the state because they did not have support in that way. So now when they get their money, they'll be able to pay back the beneficiaries, but they were able to stay open and still help everybody.
That sounds
So
good, really good. So tell me, what do you think created your passion for helping women, and especially in that, that helpless kind of state that they might be in?
it was actually very personal. And I was 16 at the time, and I came home and found my mother in the bathroom putting her makeup on. And it was afternoon, and I asked where she was going, and she told me she was running away from home.
Oh my God.
So she was leaving us, but she had to call a taxi to run away because she didn't know how to drive. My dad did everything. So I realized at that time, I actually stood there, and that was my first aha moment, in that I would never be that dependent on anyone. If I wanted to leave, I wanted to be able to leave.
Hmm.
So, short story, she didn't leave. I just took her out to dinner and she came back home with me. But I did teach her how to drive after that. And we went out and bought a car together.
Wow.
My dad was a functioning alcoholic. He never missed a day of work or anything for drinking, but on weekends, that's when we didn't see him very much. So it gave her the freedom to be able to do what she wanted when she wanted. And then unfortunately, she died of breast cancer when I was 19. So her freedom was short lived, but it was something.
Yeah.
So it made me think, and I continued to live my life not relying on anyone. So even though I was married and I very much loved my husband and we were partnership and he was my best friend, there was still always a part of me that if I didn't like something, I would instantly say, I don't have to put up with this. I can leave. So again, I never left or anything, but it was always in the back of my mind that I could do that and I would do that. So these women, a lot of the women that are in domestic violence, first of all, they still love the person that is battering them.
Mm.
But it's not just physical, it's emotional and financial also. So they might never be touched, but they also don't have any friends. They are not allowed to have a job, um, or they'll take them and move them remotely so that they have nowhere to go. not easy to go to town, things like that. So there are many aspects to it, and trying to come up with a program that would catch as many as we can. Again, teaching them what to do. So part of the program is life skills, not just financial, but also how to better themselves, how to different programs like EFT and EPT to try and help them find their passion and their center, and also to release some of the stress they're going through, and then help them find a job. I'm going to create a computer program that they'll be tested and get a certificate that when they go on an interview, they'd be able to say they went through a training program, so that the employer would know they're trainable if they don't have the exact skill set that's needed. We all know many employers, they look for that perfect resume, and if you didn't have previous experience, you don't get hired.
Yeah.
But there are so many trainable people out there that just want to work and want to do well. Try and give them that opportunity.
Wow, that sounds great. That's super.
Thank you.
So, stepping forward in the coaching world, can you give us an example of a kind of a process that you might do that has to do with the law of attraction?
Sure. The law of attraction and this training is based on the teachings of Abraham Hicks. So Abraham is a consciousness that Esther Hicks can actually channel. So her husband Jerry would ask questions and she would channel Abraham. And they went by the name Abraham because they said there are many of them, but they realized in a human form, we have a hard time distinguishing that. So they figured one name would do for us.
But they're a collection.
Yes,
they're a collection of entities of some sort.
right,
Okay.
of our all-knowing where we came from. So they try and help us remember where we came from. And so one of the processes that's very light and fun is called Wouldn't It Be Nice? So you would start with something, and you do this maybe daily anyway. You just don't call it a process and you don't think of a name for it. But it would be, wouldn't it be nice if Delia interviewed me today and then I got some new clients? And wouldn't it be nice that when I got one of those clients that they actually had money that they were ready to invest in something? And wouldn't it be nice when I met that person, they actually wanted to start a halfway house for women, that once they leave the shelter, they have a safe place still to reside, but it's not dictated by the state. And wouldn't it be nice that when these women are there, they have this freedom that they can learn all these new traits and find about themselves and then become independent? And wouldn't it be nice when they realize that they found the perfect job and they found the perfect place to live and they moved and everything worked out right?
That's
So
great.
you continue that type process.
Yeah.
The longer you do it, you expand and your abundance expands. And the whole idea is to at least keep it going 68 seconds, because Abraham says if you do 68 seconds and you're in that state of abundance, that's what you'll attract. So a lot of times we'll think of it just in one way. You'll be at your job saying, oh, I wish. You might say it as I wish. So if you just consciously take it even further. So why do you want that next step? Why do you want that next step? What would it look like? And just keep it envisioning the perfect setup. That's what you'll end up attracting to you. Or it will attract another person or another event that can help get you on the path to what your ultimate vision is.
That sounds like a great process. I was feeling excited just hearing about it.
So was I. Now I'm ready for this dinner.
Exactly. That's the idea, is that the more you enhance it and you get into the feeling of it, the more likely you're going to attract it. I think that's what a lot of people don't quite get about the law of attraction, is that it has to be a wholehearted feeling and not just a words, that you just, yeah, this is what I want, but it's not going to happen. That kind of thing is not really going to attract what you want. But if you get into the whole feeling of it and imagining it, it becomes so real.
Right, exactly. Because most of us, when we just read The Secret or watched the movie, they would say, think about what you want, or don't even use the word want because that means you're constantly want.
Exactly.
But at the same time, what they said it, but they didn't emphasize it. It's all meaning. It's all feeling. So you need to feel that you're already there, which sometimes can be hard,
Hmm.
especially if you're trying to bring in more money in your life and you already have your bills sitting there that you can barely pay. It's hard to believe that you have that abundance. But there are several processes to try and help people work through it that are just fun. Most of the processes are light and they're supposed to just be treated like games. But the more you do it, the more you start thinking that way.
Hmm.
And then the more you don't come from a place of lack. You're coming from the place of abundance and love. So it helps start changing your vibration and bringing better things into you.
Right, right. And have you seen any examples of some transformations from doing this coaching for either yourself or others?
Well, what is coming to me for the most part are all these ideas. So
Yeah.
I started out just doing the training for the coaching and then have just totally changed paths. But because I'm open to receive any type of message, whether it's through a dream or when I consciously do a process or when I'm being coached, the questions that are asked, it just I'll start thinking about it. Like, why did I think that? Why did that thought come into my mind? So I just start thinking about it a little more.
Right.
And it is hard for people that are working their 9 to 5 and have a family to come home to, that they don't have all the time they think they need to do this. And what I would suggest is to, even if they just take 15 minutes, um, go in the bathroom and close the door so you're not bothered, and just deep breathe and then think about, let things come to them. What thoughts
Hmm.
come to them? Even if it's at the beginning, problems. I have these
Hmm.
problems. If you allow it a little longer, then some ways of maybe fixing the problems will come, or potential solutions, or different ideas, or also talking to people. A lot of people would be closed mouth about things and not want to share, thinking that they're the only one that thinks that way. I don't want to be negative. But sometimes when you actually speak to another person, and as long as that person is positive, don't speak to the negative Nelly,
Hmm.
if they'll just doomsday with you
Hmm.
and your vibrational spiral down and you'll feel horrible. Talk to somebody that you think of as very clear-headed and rational, or even if they're unemotional, because they might ask questions and trigger something in you that you are just totally blocking and have never thought of. But then if you start thinking about it, then it's like, oh, well, how can I do that? And the how is always what we as humans try and figure out. And if you listen to Abraham or the universe or any of that, don't think about the how.
Right.
Just think about the end result and what you want, and the hows will come about. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going with what I'm feeling
Yeah.
and thinking, and I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I'm very excited about it.
That's the important thing. Yeah. And I think a lesson for people to really realize is that your attitude and your state of being is really critical, because you have to be happy and enthusiastic and have that high vibration first, and then you're open to all the messages from your higher self or from the universe that might be coming in. But if you're like just focusing on, oh, my life stinks, you're just going to attract more of that, and you can't break through to get those positive messages about what potential there is out there and what you're capable of and what you love.
Right. You said that perfectly.
Thank you.
And that's what a lot of us get stuck in. And
Hmm.
it takes some work because it's just a habit. just
Yeah.
like anything else. And it takes, they say scientifically, it takes 30 days to break a habit. I think it even takes longer than that to make it actually stick, because I've done things for 30 days. And then if for some reason I have to stop it, I don't just pick up right away. So if it's a new habit, I think it takes a little longer than 30 days. If it's the old one we've had, yes, we pick right back up where we were.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that sounds interesting. So, a lot of people like the idea of, having rituals or, what would you suggest as a way to create better habits, better thinking habits, or better, physical, to make yourself feel better physically and emotionally?
great question. So everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just first suggest to find out what they enjoy most. So, do you like to meditate? If you don't like to meditate, then don't try it, because it's not going to be a fulfilling experience. If you like exercising, then while you're exercising, you can start thinking of things, and it brings up your endorphins and starts different chemicals in your body that will allow you to do that. If you like just walking in nature, then take a walk in nature and let thoughts just start coming, and be relaxed about it. Most of us think we're not doing anything right, and there's no right or wrong way. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of allowing. So you just need to allow yourself to relax and allow the universe to send you the messages that they are. And then you have to allow yourself to receive it, which is very hard for most humans,
Mm-hmm.
because we are so used to being told what we have to do, or learn what we have to do, that we just keep going, and we don't actually listen to ourselves, and we don't let ourselves receive. Part of it also is gratitude. Say thank you all the time.
Mm, that's good.
Um, a lot of times I've noticed, especially since I've started all of this work, this inner journey, in that I don't always ask for a front row parking space, but if I'm in a crunch and I'll say, oh, I'm driving home from work and I'm like, I really only have 5 minutes to spare, but the store's on my way. I want to stop, pick up what I need, and leave. So if I have a front row parking space, I'd be able to get in, and I'll get it. As soon as I see it, it's like, thank you, thank you. So I still, even though there is more than enough and we don't have to share, I still come from the sharing environment where I won't take it all the time.
Uh-huh.
But just thank yourself and the universe for waking up in the morning. Start your day with a positive feeling.
Yeah.
Don't start with that stub toe or that you're running late. Just allow yourself to breathe and thank yourself for waking up one more day, and look forward to the day. Even if
Mm-hmm.
it's a busy day, even if it's a stressful day, the universe will be there and help you all through it if you will allow everything, even if you're going through negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I currently have a friend who is going through breast cancer, and they're in the very early stages of going to all the appointments.
Mm.
And I know from past experience, you are exhausted after that. It's all you think about. You don't want to think about it. You're just bombarded with, am I choosing the right course? Am I choosing the right doctor? Am I going to the right hospital? But if they allow the universe to come in, and just allow the feelings to come in and think about it, that they will find the right place, and they will be at peace, and they'll
Mm.
pick their right treatment. So yes, did we choose to have breast cancer? Some will say yes, some will say no,
Mm.
that you choose your paths in life, but at the same time, how you handle it is definitely a conscious choice, that you can make it either a positive experience or a negative.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you had some health challenges, and how do you think that's affected you?
I didn't I didn't think about it when when it happened. So I've had breast cancer twice, 23 years apart. So they didn't call it a reoccurrence; they called it a new cancer. And then from the first cancer, we believe I had blood transfusions, that I contracted hepatitis C,
Oh
which they
boy.
didn't test blood back then. So when I went for a health screen one year, just an annual visit, they finally had the blood testing down that they could see it was C.
Mm.
So I've went through actually 3 treatments for that. So the first 2 were 10 years apart because they didn't have many treatments. First one didn't work. I bottomed out. My blood levels, especially from having the chemo before, my blood levels, my immunity system is good in that I don't get sick, like I don't catch colds or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But once you put any type of chemical or medicine in my body that's supposed to kill cells, it'll go down very fast. So I didn't make it through the first one before my blood levels bottomed out and I had to stop treatment. 10 years later, they had a new drug. So I tried that and I made it even less time because it was a little more harsher.
Mm.
One of the drugs was still the same, but the others were different. So they were trying to help with that. That didn't work. And then almost 2 years ago, they came out with an oral instead of injectables, and that actually cured me. So I was
Wow.
considered cured. But in all that time, I always thought I'd get breast cancer because my mom had passed from it. I never expected the hepatitis C, but as I'm doing my inner journey work, they tell you that you have, it's like a movie. So you sit there before you come into your human body and you decide what you want to learn and you pick who's going to be in your life. So you're actually writing the script and then you're sitting there with all these souls that are with you and want to be part of you and help you. And then you say, okay, who wants to play my best friend? Well, I'm sure a lot of souls will sign up for that. That's the easy one. And then, okay, well, I need to learn forgiveness. So who's going to be the soul that comes into my life that I have to learn to forgive? Well, that one's not so hard, but just think how much they loved you that they actually came in and said, I'll do the hard one. I'll come in and be this person that you're mad at or you hate
It causes you
or
pain. Yeah.
right, causes pain and that I have to learn to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going through that process that I realized that I had brought all of this illness into my life. And every time I did, it was a very stressful time in my marriage, my life. So if I actually looked back, I allowed myself to get sick because my belief at that time was I didn't have to be perfect because when you're sick, people don't expect everything from you.
Mm.
Instead of just allowing myself to say no or just say, I have to stop, I wouldn't allow myself that at that time. But if I was sick, I could do that.
Yeah. That's
So
really
it's a kind of an
interesting.
excuse, and it's hard when you learn that and you think about it. But I truly believe that now, looking back, it definitely has brought my life to where it is now. So it probably took me a little longer to learn than I might have hoped, but I'm finally learning. So again, I'm evolving.
That's great. Yeah, I know. Heard people even just catching cold because a lot of it is their immunity goes down when they're under stress, but at the same time, they need a rest and their body's
Yes.
telling them, I need a rest. So they end up getting sick. And so it's kind of like you don't know really what happened. What was the real reason you had to take a few days off from work?
Right, right, exactly. I had heard that a couple years ago when I was still in corporate America that you should trust your intuition. So if you wake up and you say you don't want to go into work, then call in sick that day,
Mm-hmm.
or take the vacation day or whatever, which most of us won't. We're just learned behavior of responsibility and they're expecting us. But if you're not there wholeheartedly, you're there physically, but you're not there emotionally and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what keeps driving us to have more stress, more stress. So if our body and our intuition is telling us, stop a day, just either watch TV, read, go somewhere, whatever you feel like doing,
Mm-hmm.
do it. So I had started that with just my birthday. So I would always take the day of my birthday off. And I did that for my children. So um, my son was in school then, so he was allowed to take off of school that day, and we would do whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my daughter is a summer, so she didn't have off of school, but I would take off and we would still do whatever they wanted. And she to this day still does that and does that with her kids. Now they're really young, but she's planning on doing that you make at least that one day special for you.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
nice.
as I went through some of the illnesses, if I woke up and said, I really don't feel like going in, I stopped going in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's only one day, but that one day helped you rejuvenate in a way, whether you did anything or not. Some days I would just veg. I
Mm-hmm.
was not ever a TV person, but maybe I just watch movies one after the other because that's all I wanted to do was lay on the couch and not think. But the next day, I felt different.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe while I'm watching a movie, the movie has something that is going on in my life
Ah.
without me realizing it, that I'm like, oh, well, I didn't think about that. I could try that, you know?
That's great. Yeah, I used to do that with books. If I felt kind of in a funk, I would go to the library and just like the book would just call me and I just needed to read that book. And I've had some really interesting experiences with the information in that book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of my downtimes would be that I would always feel good if I went to Barnes and Noble and
Hmm.
just walked around.
Hmm.
Just being in the bookstore, even if I didn't buy something, just browsing the tables. I didn't drink Starbucks, and that was actually before Starbucks was in there. But it just gave me a sense of peace for some reason. I
Yeah.
still don't consciously know why, but I know there's some days that I just feel drawn. And so I'll drive there and I'll just walk around and not know why I'm there. I figure something will pop up. Either I'll usually look at the discount books on the rack and pick up a couple of those for when I feel like reading. Or if I'm going through and learning new processes, I'll go to that section.
Hmm.
Um, and it's the internet has changed that so much that people just buy online, read on Nook or Kindle or
Right.
Amazon. But if you
Yeah.
find something that gives you that sense of peace, even if you don't know why, just
Right.
do it, especially on your stressful days and especially if it's calling you.
Hmm.
That's the universe or your intuition, your inner self saying, you need to take a break, go do this because this you always enjoy.
Yeah. That's so important to listen, that you're really explaining what it means to listen to your intuition. And so many of us fight it and say, no, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that. But it can be really helpful. It's
It can. It can. And you don't realize it because, again, we as humans think we have to have something tangible to show for our time.
hmm.
We're allotted so much time, and I have to show this. So they'll say, well, I just wasted an hour or 2 hours. But you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't really waste it. It was nourishing yourself, your soul, and your body.
Yeah. And I can tell when you talk about it that you don't really, I mean, some people would feel a little guilty taking time for themselves, but it sounds like you've really overcome that and know how important it is to do that. And that's really great.
Yes, I'm very fortunate that I am listening to myself more often. So my one girlfriend says that I'm the busiest unemployed person that she knows because I am literally busy all day, yet I might not have anything to show for it.
Hmm.
But when I wake up, if I am inspired to work on the workshop, create a workshop, then that's what I work on. If I wake up and I'm inspired to try and find a new product to sell on Amazon to make some income, that's what I work on. Because I finally found for myself, if I do what I'm inspired to do that day, I am so much more productive and I enjoy it so much more.
Hmm.
As opposed to the old corporate thinking, I have to be here, I have to do this, but I don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
So then you're really not helping yourself or whatever task you're trying to do, accomplish. So, and
Yeah.
some days I wake up and say, I'm playing hooky today. So I do whatever.
That sounds great. It really does sound like you have things figured out. You have a pretty content life, and that's what we're all looking for.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah,
do feel that way.
that's great. So I like to end with just letting people know where they can reach you and how you can serve in terms of, if somebody has an interest in the Women's Center, what the information is to contact them, any websites you have, any other ways of contacting you?
I do have a website, and the address would be lovinglifelorian.com.
Okay.
And my email would be pmetzger@lovinglifelorian.com. So on the website, it does not have about the coaching yet, but it has the Amazon products I was selling, and it has 2 links to actually, if you want to donate to the Women's Center or Susan G. Komen breast cancer. They're the 2 sites that I support myself. I do give a little thing that if you give $100, that will buy an outfit for a woman to go to an interview. My organization does have a thrift shop that they will give an outfit to them if they have it. There is another organization that is a nonprofit, but they deal mostly with this. And so they do sell some of them. They will give some women in initial crisis an outfit, but trying to be able to get more. And they also are training, and they're in Chester County. So I have all that on the site.
Okay,
If
great.
anyone wants to reach me, just reach out to me through my email or through the website. And I'm also offering 3 free coaching sessions that they can see if it's something that they would like to try and do. And they would probably be 45 minutes, talk a little bit about what they want to achieve, what their intentions are. So if they email me first, I will email them back a little questionnaire just so it can save some time and we can jump right into the coaching, as opposed to that first call being mostly feeling out and hearing the story and everything.
That's a good idea.
Try and give them a little more benefits for it.
Wow, that's a really nice offer.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk and make this little video. And yeah,
Thank you. And it was a
you're
pleasure being
welcome.
here.
Great, great. Thanks for all your information, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.